Thank you so much, Liz. I'm going to start this off. It's kind of weird. I've given this webinar multiple times, and this is the first time that I've actually had to give it from my room. So I'm really excited to have all of you guys here. And this webinar is one that I'm very proud of because we have like 25 students that I've worked with so far. We've actually helped them all get jobs. So I'm really hopeful that this will continue to help you guys think about your career journey and how to actually strategically attack your first job instead of getting overwhelmed by just blanketing your resume and just applying for every single job. So I treat this truly as a conversation. If you guys have questions, put them in the chat box. We also do have a Q&A session at the end, so feel free to raise your hand, ask a question if you have it, or save it for the end. And with that, we'll get started with this. Do I have controls? I do. There we go. So here we go. So first off, who am I, right? You guys are probably wondering who the hell is Chase Coleman besides a Stetson University grad. So if you look on the left-hand side, you'll see that I did graduate from Stetson University. I was actually a part of the inaugural football team that started back in 2012, and that was a whole lot of fun, to be honest with you guys. I got my degree in marketing, so my bachelor degree from Stetson University, and I also went to the Harvard Business School to get a certification in business analytics. So that was about an 8-week course that I did, and it was a lot of fun. And to be honest with you guys, that certification has really helped propel me throughout my career. As we look at the middle, I've worked for 3 big Fortune 500 companies. So I started off my career with Starbucks. I actually graduated from Stetson in May of 2016 and moved out to Seattle to start with Starbucks just 4 days after graduation. So it was a very quick turnaround. And in my time at Starbucks, I was only there for about 1.5 years until I transitioned over to Nestle. But while I was there, I was fortunate enough to be awarded 3 different times for my hard work and for doing many different things throughout the business that just continued to drive the business a little bit further. So from Starbucks, I actually went to Nestle, and this was not by choice, to be honest with you guys. I was a part of a deal where Nestle came in and bought part of the Starbucks business for $7.2 billion. And when that happened, that meant that every single person that worked on that part of the business had to go too. So I went to Nestle. I was there for about a little over a year. A little over a year. And while I was there, I won one award. I actually won the President's Award, which was fantastic. It's the highest award that you could win within the entire business, and I'm very proud of that. And then from there, I actually went over to Nordstrom, so one of my favorite retailers, and worked at Nordstrom for only about 6 months. And I say that because it was a fun journey to get over there, and I'm going to talk a little bit about networking and how I was able to get that job. And I actually led the dream team. So within my first 2 months, I was leading a team of 4, and we were kicking butt, taking names while we were doing it, and we got awarded by that. And then I went right back to Nestle. So I'm now a senior analyst at Nestle. And as COVID came about and things were kind of getting a little shaky, I took the liberty to start networking again and get in contact with some old partners that I worked with, and was fortunate enough to come back to Nestle. Now, lastly, as Liz mentioned, I do have my business that I own on the side. It's called The Millennial Way. We have a podcast, a blog, and then I also do speaking engagements of this sort. And we're really around success, growth, and career development. So one thing that I've realized throughout my entire career was that people within corporate environments have a lot of information, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they're willing to share it. And for me, I thought that was unfair, and you guys are the ones who deserve to know this information, which is why I started that business and why we've continued to grow and scale over the past 3 years. So enough about Chase. Let's talk about actually getting your first job. So the agenda today, we're going to start off with building your resume and your personal brand. Guys, this is super important. And this is going to be the upfront work that's going to enable you to get the job that you want. So we're going to talk a little bit about hard and soft skills and recognizing what those are. And then we're also going to talk about personal branding and owning your personal brand. As you guys know, it's 2020. Everyone's on social media. Liz was able to go check out my resume and stuff on my LinkedIn without me even knowing, right? So my personal brand is what other people see me as. And I want to make sure that you guys know that your brand is very important. And I'm going to help you kind of think about that a little strategically as well. Then from there, we'll talk about attacking your first job strategically. So we'll talk about your priorities. And I'm not just talking about work priorities, but your life priorities. And then we're going to talk a little bit about networking too. So when I think about getting your first job, like if I were to tell you guys that like going to Monster and going to Indeed.com and just sending out your resume to a bunch of different places and hoping that one sticks, like frankly, that type of stuff doesn't work, right? So what I'm going to take you through is how I actually go about jobs. And I would say I've been pretty successful in getting jobs and being able to break into large companies. And it's really by my personal branding, priorities, and then networking. So I also threw in a fun little aspect to this presentation as well. And we're going to talk quick COVID-19 tips. There are still companies hiring right now, Nestle one of them. And I just have some tips for you guys as we continue to move throughout this whole quarantine and things of that sort. And then lastly, I'm going to open this up for Q&A. So that way we can rock and roll and get all your questions answered. So this, the formatting came through a little bit weird, so forgive me on that one. But I did want to let you guys know this. Landing your first job is always going to be the toughest, no matter what industry, whether you're trying to go into retail, no matter whether you're trying to go into like just straight business, startup, whatever it is. But once you conquer this, you're going to be well on your way. And as I think back on my career, there's been a lot of tears, a whole lot of them. But there's also been a lot of smiles, a lot of happy hours to celebrate. And I would say the most amount of tears I've had in my career was right before landing my first job because it's so frustrating and you think you're doing everything right and then you figure out that you either don't get the job or you do get the job. But the most fulfilling thing that will ever happen to you is landing that first job, because I can promise you once you do that, you are setting yourself up for success throughout the remainder of your career. So I have a little poll for you guys. So let's talk about skills, hard versus soft. So I'm going to ask you this. What do you think is more important when it comes to landing your first job? Do you think the hard skills are more important, or do you think the soft skills are more important? And I'm going to give you guys the definition of both. The hard skills are teachable and measurable abilities such as writing, reading, math, or the ability to use computer programs. Meanwhile, soft skills are etiquette, communication, and listening, and getting along with other people. So, Olivia, can we get that poll rolling so I can give everybody just a couple minutes to get in there? There we go. Interesting. All right, the 10 of you who haven't answered, I'm going to give you 8 now. I'm going to give you a minute and 15 seconds. All right, we got just 6 more people. Give you guys 1 more minute. All right. This is interesting to me. I'm going to be honest with you guys, because when I was graduating college, I thought that hard skills were probably the most important thing that I needed to know. But a lot of you think soft skills. So it's 30 to 2 soft skills to hard skills. So let's figure out which one is more important and why. So first, let's talk about like the real aspect of looking for a job, right? So you guys are probably looking at job descriptions and going, Chase, this thing is telling me 3 to 5 years of experience. How in the world is this possible? I'm just graduating college. How am I supposed to work for 3 to 5 years when I have 0 years of experience because I just started working, right? Well, the answer to that is called hard skills. So I've had multiple conversations with many different human resources leaders throughout all 3 companies that I've been with, and also throughout other companies like PepsiCo and Coca-Cola and some other places. And I've realized that 3 to 5 years of experience is nothing but a mere filter. And I mean that. So when HR, whoever's creating the job description, puts this on at an entry level position, what they're trying to do is get rid of all of the people who are just blanketing their resume and sending out and just filling out applications for any job. And what they're looking for are people who are going to take this seriously. So as you start looking at your job descriptions and different openings that other companies have, when you see 3 to 5 years of experience, don't necessarily take that as, damn, I need 3 to 5 years of experience, but take that as, I need to take this job seriously, and this needs to be one that I'm going to be willing to take if they were to offer it to me. So as I mentioned, hard skills, they're actually just the skills that are listed on your resume. So when I think about it, they're data analysis, a lot of technical experience, if you have like social media management or like budget management, anything that you've like physically and technically done should be listed on your resume, because this is a hard skill that you own and something that you can innately do as a human. So I call this a quick exercise. I really don't need you guys to do this right now, but this is something I want you to think through because it's going to take a lot longer than quick. This is something that's going to take hours, if not days, just because you're going to have to think through everything that you've done in your past. So what I'm asking for you to do is think objectively about your past and current internships, jobs, and organizational experience. What does that mean? Think about everything that you've done in terms, now internships are internships, right? Jobs in terms of whether it's your hourly sales job, whether you were a barista at Starbucks, or whether you were like a floor manager working at a small boutique, like make sure that you write this stuff down and include organizational experiences from your college experience. I was in Greek life. I was in Sigma Phi Epsilon while I was at Stetson. I also got involved in Greek Week and other things of that sort. That experience is great because it allows you to showcase that you have some leadership and then also some more technical skills alongside of that. And then lastly, obviously, you're going to have to write down all of the experience on the projects and your involvement. So this is kind of taking step one on building out your LinkedIn and your resume, is just getting it all on paper. I found that the first thing you want to do is write all of it down, and then we can go back and refine. It's always easier to refine than to build, right? So next, we have our hard skills. So that's a very quick, easy exercise, right? Boom, got my hard skills. So next up, let's talk a little bit about soft skills. So this is a very interesting quote, and my friend wouldn't let me put their name up there, but they're a human resources manager at Starbucks, and they told me that the most important thing to find out during an interview is if they're a cultural fit. So by the time you come in for the interview, they already know that you have the hard skills. They know that you're capable of doing the job. But what they want to know is, are you going to be a good fit here? Are you going to fit into the team? Are people going to enjoy working with you? So soft skills are, again, equally as important as hard skills, if not more important. So the guys and gals of you, wow, you guys who voted soft skills, you're spot on. Those who voted hard skills, you are in the same camp as me when I was, 22, 20, 21, 22. So I don't blame you for putting it there. But these soft skills are going to be skills that are listed on your resume, but they're not listed on your resume, but they're very, very important to share. And again, they're important to share because these are what's going to be helping you find, this is what's going to help HR and the interviewers find out if you are a cultural fit within their environment. So soft skills show these companies interviewing you, one, that you have problem solving skills. Two, they show how well you work with people. And three, they show, can you deal with ambiguity? I've been in corporate America for 4 years now, and guys, I've been through so much absolute crap. I've closed a business. I've been sold by a business. I've gone through COVID with a retail business. If you can't deal with ambiguity or at least showcase that you can, then you're not going to be able to take that next step in your career, which is landing your first job, getting promoted, and doing those other things. So those soft skills come in and are very, very important. So I told you, they don't necessarily go on your resume, right? But you do get to showcase them. And the way that you showcase them is through storytelling. So one thing that I've done through the Millennial Way is we've actually created a formula to storytell. And I call this the Millennial Way of storytelling. And your formula is right here as you look at the first check mark. And it's what you did plus how you did it plus the results. Okay? Very, very simple. And one thing that, before I even go into the example, one thing I want you guys to know is that on LinkedIn and on resumes, run-on sentences are okay, right? I didn't see any English majors here, but I do know that we all have to take an English class, English 101 or English 100, and they're going to tell you that run-on sentences are bad. But I'll tell you this, in business, run-on sentences work as long as you get the point across. So I actually pulled an example from my resume, and if you guys go on my LinkedIn, you will see this bullet point on there. And very, very simple using this formula. One, I launched Tivana's first sweepstakes, tying the digital flywheel to all marketing touchpoints for Tivana. That is physically what I did. Now, how I did it through business case creation, including data analysis and cross-functional leadership. And then lastly, what are the results? To produce over 150,000 in online sales, 2 million sweepstakes entries with over 100,000 incremental email registrations. So I hit boom, boom, boom. So if you think about it, if we're taking a step back, it's like, all right, what did you do? Are you capable of doing the work? Yes, I am capable of running a sweepstakes, which shows that I'm capable of marketing. How did I do this? My hard skill, business case creation using data analysis, and then my soft skill of cross-functional leadership, meaning that I was working with not only the marketing team, but I worked with finance, I worked with, operations, I worked with our creative teams. I had to really lead a team that was not reporting into me. And then lastly, the results. Every business is all about results. At the end of the day, it's a number-driven game, and if you can provide results, that's amazing. And for you guys, it might be a little bit more different in terms of internships and thinking through your first job, but that's okay. I put this as a very high-level example, and you may not be able to produce $150,000 in online sales and things of that sort. But what you can talk about is how you've made a process more efficient, or how you've been able to really push through and make a change within your environment and the place that you're working at. So let's bring this all together, y'all. So real quickly, we got our hard skills, we got our soft skills, and now we're using our storytelling formula to tie the hard and soft skills together. So check, check, check. So we've got all of the upfront preparation done. So now that we've done all of the upfront work that's needed, and that's, I would say, the toughest part of the job search is doing all the upfront internal work. So now let's talk about personal branding, your LinkedIn and your resume. This is probably my favorite thing to talk about. So guys, LinkedIn is an extension of your resume. And this, I truly mean it. I mean, when you look at your LinkedIn versus your resume should just be like a condensed version of it. So I'm going to walk through these bullet points. So looking on the left-hand side at LinkedIn, this is the first thing you want to do, okay? It's digital. You can easily change it. And at the end of the day, you don't have to necessarily publish every single thing that you're doing. But this is just a great place to be able to write about all of your experiences, including all of your major experiences. And when I say major experiences, I mean, as we're going back and looking at all of the things that we've done, right? We wrote down our hard skills and looked at all of the experiences that we've had. Now, what of them stands out and allows me to be that rock star that I want to be? I do have a general rule of thumb, and this is just a rule of thumb that we have at the Millennial Way. It's no longer than 2 to 3 sentences per experience. And again, remember, you could have that run-on sentence, so it could be very long, but at the same time, you want it to be concise, so that way nobody feels like they're reading a paragraph. With more space equals more storytelling. So as you guys know, LinkedIn is a social media platform. There's no pages on it. It just keeps scrolling all the way down. So you have that opportunity to really, truly storytell on there. And then lastly, guys, I cannot preach this enough. It's social media. Engage, please, like, be social. This is what's going to make you marketable and add to your personal brand. I swear this is what works. I was just telling Liz that I get about 2,000 people looking at my LinkedIn profile every single week. This is not because I work at Nestle. This is not because I've worked at Starbucks or Nordstrom. This is because, I'm just sorry, I'm reading the chat box. But this is because I've engaged in articles and in groups and in posts that pertain to things that I think are relevant. And I love sports. I love basketball. I love the NFL. And one thing, I wrote an article about LeVar Ball and his Big Baller brand and how I thought he was a marketable genius, right? Little did I know that my CEO of Starbucks read that and then found me in the hallway 2 weeks later. And he was like, "Hey, Chase, I didn't know that you were that interested in sports. Like, I found this really interesting." And then next thing you know, I now have a relationship with Howard Schultz, the CEO of Starbucks. And every time he saw me, he was like, "Hey, you're the LeVar Ball guy. You're the LeVar Ball guy." And let me tell you guys, that was one of the coolest experiences that I've had within my career thus far, is being able to talk to just many different people on many different aspects because I was engaging on a social platform, one that's a professional social platform as well. So guys, I'm going to quickly go over your resume. This is just it's an extension of your LinkedIn. Remember that. So it's a condensed version of your LinkedIn. 1 to 1.5 pages maximum. If you go over 1.5 pages, I can guarantee you that recruiters and people who are going to be reading through your resume are just going to read the first page, and then they're not going to even flip it over to the backside because it's a lot of words and a lot of content. Thinking about your LinkedIn, you're going to want to take the top 3 to 5 experiences from your 3 most recent roles. So whatever you've done most recently, you want to take the top 3 to 5 things that you've done, and that's where you want to highlight them, is on your resume. And then you're going to obviously include a link to your LinkedIn. This is where you're going to be able to see more. You're going to understand more storytelling from me. Yes, put it on your resume, please. So, I've talked a lot about, like, we're getting the upfront work done. And Howard Behar is a good friend of mine. He's the founding president of Starbucks International. And one thing that he told me while I was recording a podcast was, luck is where opportunity and preparation meet. Now, we've already done the preparation piece, right? As you guys are going through this exercise and understanding your hard skills, understanding your soft skills, building out your LinkedIn, building out your resume, you're prepared, you're ready to go, you're ready to take that next step. And next, all you need is that opportunity. And if we believe that preparation plus opportunity equals luck, then all you need is that opportunity, because that luck is going to come for you. So let's talk about our priorities first off. And I'm a huge fan of Warren Buffett, and Warren Buffett and a pencil are all you truly need to prioritize. So one thing that I've done in my own life and my career so far, and one thing that I tell a lot of the people that I mentor, is that we're going to use Warren Buffett's 525 strategy. And no, it doesn't mean May 25th. It means 5-25. So first, what we're going to do is we're going to write, and yes, we're actually going to write this. We're not going to type it. And there's something about the mental, about actually writing it down versus typing, that allows you to stick to it. But we're going to write down our top 25 goals. So within our entire life, what do we want to accomplish over the next lifetime that we, in my life, what do I want to accomplish over, holy crap, over my entire lifetime, what do I want to accomplish? And you want to write down those top 25. Now, you want to prioritize them from 1 to 25, and then you're going to draw a circle around your top 5. And from there, you're only going to focus on the top 5 goals, and you're going to say absolutely no to the rest. Now, why is that? When you think about 25 different things that you're focused on, your brain can only truly focus on 4 to 5 things at once, right? And now I say at once, not from a multitasking standpoint, but from a longevity standpoint. And when you have your 5 top goals, you're going to be able to attack them with tenacity and a very clear head on your shoulders to be able to tackle them a lot quicker and a lot more strategically than you would be able to if you had all of these other goals that you were still working on. So I say that because you're going to be able to accomplish all 5 goals. And that's a great question. Life goals. So let's think about what's important to us today, and not only what's in your career, but things that you want to accomplish within your entire life. Okay. And we're going to focus on those top 5 goals. We're going to say no to the rest, and then we're going to attack them with full tenacity. And the best part about this 525 strategy is that once you attack those first 5 goals and you finish them, then you're allowed to work on the next 5 goals. And then now you're finishing 10 goals, and then you're going to finish 15 goals, and then you're going to finish 20, and then 25. And it's such a fulfilling feeling. Now, when I talk about priorities, and this is, Anne-Marie, this is a great question. How do you identify more specific goals to get 25? Would these include life goals or all career goals? They're all should be life goals. And these should all be priorities on what matters most to you today. So think about yourself in this current day, state and day and age, and what is it exactly that you want to accomplish over the amount of time that you have. And the one thing that I want you guys to know is that your priorities are going to change with life, and that is just okay. I mean, seriously, you might get a significant other, you guys might have a baby, you guys might move cities, you might move states, you might move out of the country. There's going to be so many, COVID might come up, right? Like so many things happen within life, and it's okay to revisit your priorities and to adjust them. So one thing that I like to do is revisit my priorities on a cadence. I personally do it quarterly, so once every 3 months. I have some friends who do it yearly. I even have some friends who do it monthly. I would never say do it more than monthly, because then you're going to have way too many things on your mind, and you're going to start thinking about those other 20 goals that we said say no to. But as you continue to move throughout your life and as things continue to change, you can actually adjust them as needed. So now that we know what's important to us, right, we have our priorities and we have our life goals, it's time to start taking action, and it's networking time. So I have a fun quote from here. So networking is building your village. And guys, when I say that a village is really what you need in order to help achieve your goals, like I've been at 3 Fortune 500 companies. Nestle is the #1 food and beverage company in the world. Nordstrom is the #1 premium retailer in the United States and Canada. Starbucks is the #3 recognizable brand in the globe. And the one thing that I'll tell you is I've never been able to do it all by myself. Now, I've done the work, I've done everything that I can, but at the same time, that's still not enough. You need people to advocate for you. You need people to be by your side, and you need people to help push you and help you lift beyond just what you believe you can accomplish. So I say that to tell you guys that it does take a village to achieve your goals. You could do it alone, and you could try doing it alone, but doing it alone will, one, take longer, it'll take more effort, and frankly, it's boring. And my mother told me this as she was going through nursing school, and it's kind of fun because my mom went back to nursing school in her mid-30s, and she's 54 right now, and now she's a chief nursing officer of her company. So to say that someone took their village and then continued to use it to help them grow, that's exactly what she did. But Chase, why is networking important? So networking is important for many, many reasons. So one, you can meet many people in various roles through various industries. Two, your network is what it will inevitably land you a job. And I actually have a really fun quote for you guys. So I was texting a buddy last night. I'm going to pull it up for you, and I apologize for being on my phone. But I wanted to read this to you guys because it's really, really good. So my friend, she was looking to leave her job and she wants to get a new job. She just wasn't happy with where she was at today, and I was telling her that you need to network and you need to start getting to know people and really, really need to start understanding what it is that you're getting into. And I'm going to read you verbatim what she sent me last night. Chase, what made me happy is the manager said that when he told my friend who works there about the type of candidate that they were looking for to fill the position, apparently I was the first person that was mentioned! Exclamation point. I feel like I've never really done an actual job search from scratch because somehow people just always pull through. But it's crazy because it just seems to work out that way. Plus, you can somewhat see what you're getting into, what you're getting into yourself by talking to a more trusted source rather than someone you're just meeting. Job searching online with no path is overwhelming AF. She networked. She got a recommendation from someone who was within her network, and now she's interviewing for a job, and I have no doubt that she's going to actually get that job. So that's just one example for you guys. And then lastly, when I think about networking, networking is how you're going to meet your mentors. It's how you're going to meet your advocates. And it's also how you're going to meet friends with similar passions. I'm somebody who moved all the way across the country. I'm originally born in Atlanta, obviously went down to Stetson and then moved out to Seattle very, very shortly, knowing absolutely nobody out here. And LinkedIn was one of the best things for me because it helped me find friends with similar passions. And then I was able to go snowboarding with people, and it helped me really meet people and live a very joyful and fulfilling life out here. And now I've been here for 4 years. Um, I got some quick steps on networking with LinkedIn, and I'm going to talk through them just one, two, three, four, five, six. Again, the formatting is a little weird on this, not why it's sure it's coming through crazy, but the key to networking, guys, is being yourself, being open to ideas and others' ideas, and also etiquette. I mean, I cannot stress this enough, and I will talk about etiquette in just a second, but etiquette is key, okay? Just remember that we are also talking to humans. We're not talking to bots. So first off, by using your priorities, I would research companies that you're interested in on LinkedIn. Start looking them up. Find out if they're hiring. Find out other people that work there. And two, you're going to find people within that company on LinkedIn by researching them. And it's best to find a second or third connection. So someone that's like right outside your circle, or someone who's linked to you in some type of way, whether they're a Stetson graduate or a friend of a friend. And I actually have a list of companies that are hiring through COVID with Stetson grads on that we'll talk through in a little bit. But start using your priorities, start researching those companies, and then find people within that company on LinkedIn. Next, there we go. Next, you're going to want to connect with them, so that we're getting very tactical here. Do not just hit connect and pray that they accept. Chances are that if they accept, they're probably not going to send you a message. And chances are if you just pray that they accept, then they might not even know that you're even there, right? So what I would do is send them a quick message introducing yourself and why you like to connect. So going back within my own personal LinkedIn, I was actually looking back at some of the messages I had sent my junior and senior year. And here's one example that actually ended up working really well for me that helped me get introduced to one of my mentors whose name is Joe Thornton. He's a published author now. He's COO at a company out of DC. And basically what I told him was, hi, Joe, I'm Chase Coleman, a senior at Stetson University, and I found your profile and career journey very interesting. Starbucks is a company that I would love to work for many reasons, and I was hoping we could connect. Cheers, Chase. That's it. Simple, straight to the point. That way he knew, I just want to talk to you. I want to get to know you. And also, if you have friends or connections, if they make an introduction for you, this is also a great way to connect. And it also helps you kind of bypass that first step of hitting connect, praying they accept, and sending them that message. Next, you're going to want to build rapport. So after you connected with that person, it's important that you message the person you just connected with. So start asking those simple questions to build rapport with that person. Here's a quick example for you guys. This is not real because this is something that is coming throughout COVID, but I would say like, hey, Joe, I see you work for the Seattle Mariners. I saw in the news today that the season might come back soon. I'm very hopeful that it will. How are you and how are things going in your world? Boom, quick and to the point, and it's also asking something about him, right? I'm not telling him that like I have this product or that I'm a graduating senior or that I'm looking for a job right now. He's going to find that out within a couple of messages, but I want to start to get to know you on a human level before I start even getting to know you on a job level. One bullet point that I think is very important is ensuring that they know you are not just trying to sell a product or using them for something. I kind of alluded to that already, but really letting them know that you're human and that you're just trying to seek advice, right? I'm not here because I need you to give me that job. I know that I'm going to have to do things to get that job. But what I do want you to know is that I'm not trying to sell you on anything because I just want to have a conversation with you. And then lastly, once you build that rapport, you should set up time with them to have a phone call or a coffee chat. Now, I've worked for a coffee company before. One thing that we do culturally is we always sit down and enjoy a cup of coffee together. This could be a glass of wine. This could be some hard liquor at a happy hour. It could just be over Zoom. Now that we're in COVID, I would just say you want to be able to talk to somebody face to face, whether it's over the phone or in front of them, because you're going to be able to get a lot more from them than just typing in a message box via LinkedIn or going back and forth on email. So next, now we're starting to talk about the jobs and career aspect of it. You're going to want to start asking for advice on jobs career. So by this point, you've probably already expressed your interest in the company and various positions about in the company. So I'd say it's very much appropriate to ask for advice on how to get into the company. And one thing that I would tell you guys is position it so it's truly asking for advice and not a what can you do for me, right? So one thing I think about is I'm working with other young professionals on how to actually get into a company or break into a Nestle or a Starbucks. I get kind of turned off when people come to me and they're like, well, so what can you do for me, Chase? Like, can you help me get in or not? And it's like, well, I can do only so much, but like you're gonna have to do the work as well. So when you position it as, hey Chase, like all I really want is like some advice from you on how I could go about breaking into it because I know that I'm gonna have to do a lot of work on my own. But like, what are some tips that you would have for me in terms of interviewing or what Starbucks looks for when interviewing people? And naturally, this person that you're speaking with will give you their advice and they will almost always go above and beyond to help you. You'll get a recommendation, you'll get your resume entered into the system, etc. Right? I just gave you guys that example from my good friend Sarah. And when I tell you that like getting a recommendation will get you so far in the interview process without you even having to say a word, it's truly what's going to help you land that job, right? So networking can equal a recommendation. And then lastly, it's time to apply for those jobs. So whether you've got a recommendation or your resume is entered into the system or if that person is giving you great advice, through those conversations with your connections, you'll have a good understanding of one, what positions you can apply for, right? We talked a little bit earlier about that 3 to 5 year filter. That might be very real for some jobs, but for other jobs, it might not be. So through networking on LinkedIn, you could find out, hey, like I saw this position. Do you think it's an entry level position that I'm qualified for? You could also understand what companies are looking for. And then you could find out so much more about the company because you're talking to somebody internally. And that person literally spends more time at that company than they do with anybody else in the world today. So I would just say like, follow these steps and then you'll be applying for jobs and it'll be so much easier than going on to an Indeed or a Monster or anything of that sort. So next, we're going to talk about 4 quick LinkedIn tips. So I actually ran a quick case study with some of my mentees to understand the LinkedIn kind of like algorithm and also like people behind it. So first off, on average, with every 20 people that you reach out to, right? So you're going in on your LinkedIn and you're clicking on 20 people I want to connect. 15 of those people will actually accept the connection. Anywhere between 6 to 8 will respond to your message. So they'll say, it's so great to meet you. Excuse me. And then 3 to 5 of those 20 people will actually have a phone call or they'll meet for a coffee. And those 3 to 5 people are going to be the ones that you hone in on anyways, right? You don't need to have coffee with 15 people. You don't need to have coffee with 20 people. 3 to 5, it sounds like I know 3 companies that I want to work for, 3 positions that I want to go for, and these are the people that I need to talk to. Guys, I can't stress this enough. I'm rubbing my head because it just stresses me even thinking about it. Don't ask for a recommendation on the first conversation. I'm just going to sit here and let that sit for a while. Don't ask for a recommendation on the first conversation. There's a button on LinkedIn where if you go onto the job search site and you're looking at a job, it says ask for a recommendation. The number one thing that you will never get from that is a recommendation, because I can guarantee you that every single professional who's ever gotten a recommendation in their past has had to work for it. And when I say work for it, they've had to network. They've had to get other people to understand who they are and what they stand for. And if I don't know you from, you know, the pizza guy bringing my pizza later on today, then I'm most likely not ever going to give you a recommendation. So I would highly suggest that you stay away from this. Third, etiquette is key, y'all. Like, if you stay away from asking the recommendation up front and you just be who you are and be yourself and understand that you are talking to a human through the computer, then you're going to be more than fine. The nicer you are, the more cordial you are, the more someone is willing to do for you. I think we've all learned that. You learn that at such a young age, as a young child, and it carries throughout our entire life and our career. And then lastly, when searching for connections, I wouldn't go all the way up to the VP or CEO level. Do I have connections who are at that level? Absolutely. But those have not been the ones who have been able to help me immediately. So I'd add manager and director level professionals. Reason being is that these people can actually, one, directly hire you. So think about it. If you go talk to a VP or CEO, their teams are 500, 600, thousands of people, right? They can't tell you what they're hiring for and what they're not hiring for unless it's a director level position. But when you go and talk to director level positions and managers, those are the people who you're actually going to be working for. You're going to interact with them on a day-to-day basis. So they're going to let you know, one, we could directly hire you. Two, we could tell you tactically how interviews are conducted and what to watch out for. I'll give you guys a quick example. When I was interviewing for Nordstrom, I had 3 interviews, and they typically do 8 for people who are coming in. And I had a great connection who worked there, and she said, I advocated for you. I bypassed a lot of things so that way we don't have to worry about going through the entire interview process. These are the questions they're going to ask you. Prepare for them, right? Some call it cheating. I call it networking. And then lastly, these people can introduce you to others who can hire you or help you out. So say you connected with me on LinkedIn, and I don't have any open positions on my team at the moment, and I'm making this up. But I know that you're a hardworking young professional and that you're somebody that I want to have in my camp, and I want somebody that I want to have give a recommendation to because I want to see you succeed. I will then introduce you to 5 to 10 people who I know are hiring and who can also help you out. And I know that other people are, on LinkedIn are willing to do that as well. It's a social media site. So let's talk a little bit about COVID. This is oh, guys, I hate COVID. I hate COVID-19 so much, but at the same time, I see it as a very big opportune time. I'm a huge optimist. So yes, COVID-19 sucks and so does quarantine, but in my mind, this is the perfect time to network and build relationships. So I'm letting you guys know this now. If I could get a new role within this environment, then you most definitely can too. So I have some virtual interview tips that we're going to talk through, and then I'm going to show you guys a couple companies that are hiring. So first off, dress for success, and yes, that includes wearing pants. Now, I had a blazer on before this. It's really hot in my room, so I apologize that I'm not dressed for success for you guys. But when it comes to interviewing, you want to dress and show that you take this seriously, right? We've been in quarantine for 60 days, however many days we have, and the one thing that I would say is that companies are going to take you very, very seriously if you show up in a blazer and a button down, or if you show up in one of your nice pencil skirt suits. I apologize for if I butchered that, women. But dress for success, really. Show them that you're taking this seriously. My roommate works for the Seattle Seahawks, and during his virtual interview, they made him stand up and do a full circle to make sure that he was wearing pants. Homie got lucky he was wearing pants, okay? Second, you want to maintain your routine as if you had to go into an office. So for me, I wake up at 6:15 every morning. I also I wake up at 6:15 every morning. I go for a quick run, get a quick workout in. I make breakfast. I hop in the shower, and then I get started on my day by 7:45, 8 o'clock. And the one thing that I would say that keeps me sane and working through quarantine is that I maintain my routine just as much as just the same as if I had to go into an office. One thing that I always tell people that when they're going into interviews, have 3 to 5 questions ready to ask. You have to show that you're engaged and that you thought through what it is that you're trying to do with that company, right? So even if it's, do you enjoy your job? What does the day-to-day look like? What is the culture like here? Just have 3 to 5 questions ready to ask. And even if you get to the end of the interview and they're like, okay, like, I know we're out of time. Like, I want to thank you so much. Interrupt them during that time and say, hey, I just want to at least ask one question. And that will take you so far. Next, if you've connected with someone internally, mention them to the HR recruiter or whoever it is that you're talking to. This goes so far. It shows that you've taken the steps to network, get to know somebody on a deeper level. So that way it just shows that you're not just going out there and sending your resume to everybody, but rather you're going about it strategically. And this is a place that you truly want to see yourself grow. And then lastly, y'all, be yourself. Let your personality shine. The one thing that I've seen multiple times is this thing called imposter syndrome of people trying to act as if someone who they aren't, and it never ends up working out. You usually end up getting disappointed with the job search and the job interview process and all those things. Be yourself. Do you. Like at the end of the day, like you want to be that values you for who you are, so that way you can show up to work every single day happy, smiling, optimistic, and ready to kick some butt. Now, next, let's look at some companies hiring because this is we're in a very unique time with COVID. And I went on to LinkedIn. LinkedIn actually has an article that has companies hiring right now. So I pulled a lot of companies that are hiring within their corporate offices and their field offices. So I'm not looking at hourly jobs. Like I'm not asking you guys to go be a fulfillment, work as a truck driver in a fulfillment center at Amazon. Not saying that there's any, but I just that you guys are looking to do something that's within a corporate environment. So you'll see that I have Amazon, Nestle, PepsiCo, UPS, Fidelity, Salesforce, a bunch of big companies. Netflix is hiring. I think Tatiana said she wanted to work for Netflix and then maybe go into a nonprofit. EA Sports, JP Morgan Chase, Conagra Foods. There's a lot of companies that are out there that are hiring, and all of these companies have committed to hiring over 1,000 people, right? So that's a lot. Now, one thing that you'll see is that there's a black box around some of them, like Amazon, like Nestle, like Pepsi, UPS, Salesforce, EA, UF Health, JP Morgan Chase. And that's me indicating to you guys that a Stetson alumni works there. Okay. I work at Nestle, obviously. JP Morgan Chase. Preach it, Kevin. JP Morgan Chase has great benefits and takes care of their employees. I'll even say Nestle does that as well. I know a lot of these companies do. A couple of my buddies work at Stryker. I believe the COO of EA Sports is actually a Stetson graduate, and there's just a lot of cool people that work in all these great businesses. And how did I find them? I went on to LinkedIn and I just searched the company, and the next thing you know, the first thing that pops up is Stetson grads. So I would recommend to you guys that you guys go look on LinkedIn, start searching these companies, start searching the open positions, and reach out to us. If you're interested in Nestle, I am literally an email or phone call away. It's a lot of fun. But also I'll mention that I am posting, or I think we're posting this this webinar after, so that way you guys can refer back to this later. So I think you guys have heard enough of me talking. So now that you have the tools, let's recap this. So one, hard skills and soft skills are just equally as important, right? Two, storytelling is how you showcase your skills and your experiences on your LinkedIn and your resume. Three, you're going to use that storytelling formula. You're going to use the Millennial Way storytelling formula to craft your LinkedIn and your resume. Okay. Next, you're going to set your priorities. We're going to thank Warren Buffett. We're going to give him a big peace sign and say, I'm using your 525 rule. Warren, you're the man. Next, we're going to start networking with our priorities top of mind, right? We're going to think about what we want to accomplish, what we want to achieve, and then we're going to go network. And by networking is going to allow me to understand the job market, how companies are going to hire, because all of them are different, and what positions I'm actually qualified for and what is going to be fulfilling for me. And then lastly, if you guys enjoyed this, I would definitely say that you should go subscribe to my podcast, The Millennial Way. You actually don't have to listen to me talk for 45 minutes. You get to hear me and a lot of people in my network talk. So it's a lot of fun. And I am truly, truly proud of all the work that we've been able to do. And again, like I don't make any money off of it. Chris, I have a link for you. Give me 1 second. Bang. So let's stay connected, y'all. So this is my LinkedIn link. I have my email right here. It's overlapping with the icon, but it is chase@itsmillennialtalk.com. My podcast, if you guys search the Millennial Way podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, iHeartRadio, we're working on getting onto Pandora as well. Guys, I'm working on a book. So if you found this very informational and helpful, then I think you'll find my book even more helpful. And what it's going to do is take essentially this webinar and then 2 more that I'm working on about starting your career and even getting a little bit more tactical in that. And it's going to take it all together. And I promise it will not be more than $15. I don't believe in charging that much. And then lastly, as Olivia had mentioned, this presentation will be available for PDF on PDF. And I am going to open this up for Q&A. And guys, I do want to say this real quickly. If we run out of time or you just don't feel comfortable asking the question here, shoot it to me in an email and I'll respond no later than tomorrow. I am here for you. and I want to see every single one of you succeed. I hope every single one of you surpass all of the accomplishments that I have had, and I truly mean that. So with that, I will open it up to you guys with any questions.
Thank you, Chase. Go ahead and drop your questions in the chat box, and Chase is ready to answer them. There we go.
Okay, that's a great question, Chris. When would be a good time to submit applications for seniors? So I'm going to start off by saying that not every company starts hiring immediately as seniors are starting to graduate, right? So as you're graduating in May, companies aren't necessarily hiring in May or June. And there might be some, but they all hire on different timelines. So as I was, for me, when I was going into my job search, right, I started around like November of my senior year. So right before the spring semester, I would start looking at the jobs and just kind of seeing what the market looks like at that point in time. But by networking, that would help me understand when is the good time to start submitting my applications. So if I would say this, and I'm sorry, I'm bouncing around a little bit. If you want to start a job in May, start applying by December, because that gives you an ample time to really start getting that ramped up. You could start networking, you could start applying for those positions, and then you could go through the interview process, which takes a very long time, especially for entry level roles. It takes about like anywhere between 2 to 4 weeks, and I'm being generous when I say that. But I would start looking around like early to late fall is when I would start even sending in my applications, and then start reaching out to people as well. All right, Drew, let's see. So you made the suggestion to never talk about business straight away and talk to employers as people first. All that I wish to avoid is getting someone who's annoyed that me talking to them is a front for job questioning advice. That's a really interesting and good question, Drew. Um, all that I wish to avoid is getting someone who is annoyed that me talking to them is for a job. Okay, so if I'm understanding your question correctly, it's like you don't want to. No, 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 you're fine. If I'm understanding it correctly, you're saying that you want to reach out to somebody, but you don't want to seem like you're annoying, right? Is that, can I get a thumbs up real quick? Cool. Okay, so what I would say to this, Drew, is there are going to be some people that you're going to meet that are going to think you're annoying, and that's the truth, right? You don't want to work with those people anyways. And honestly, I see it as a filter for people who I don't ever want to work with, right? Because every company and every culture is different. And when you go to a different company, you're going to realize that people within that culture are all very similar in a lot of ways. And when you start talking to people on LinkedIn, it's a social media. Okay. I get what you're saying. So you don't want it to seem like the combo is going to lead to job questions. So what I would say is just start talking about different things that you're interested in. If you've been reading a book, like start talking about that. If you've been listening to podcasts, or if there's something that you're learning about right now, start talking to them about that and start getting their opinion on it, and start just having a good conversation face to face or through the platform. And then as you're doing that, I would say, hey, I saw that you work at Starbucks, or I saw that you work at Nestle. Would you mind if we had a conversation about the company and your time there? Right. So then you're putting it, um, so that way you're not having to worry about getting on their nerves. You get what I'm saying? So that way it's like asking for permission to have that conversation. And it might feel a little weird to asking for permission, the first couple of times that you're actually meeting with, or that first actual times that you're talking to somebody. But the more that you just ask for permission and say, hey, I'd love to talk about this. If you don't want to talk about it, that's fair and that's awesome. But at the same time, like, I want to open it up, and now we can have that conversation with each other. And I found, Drew, that is the number one way where people will start talking to you about the jobs. Ask for permission, and then you'll be rocking and rolling. Okay, Kevin, you got a great question. I'm gonna tackle yours first, and then Tatiana and Santiago, I got you guys. Drew, you're very welcome. So what is my advice on how to go about moving up, either laterally or the ladder within a company, and when should we start discussing that with superiors? So I actually just had a podcast interview on this, and this was a really, really interesting one. One thing about us young professionals is that we get a little too big for our britches. We finish one project and we're like, I'm ready to get promoted. You finish two projects and you excel at it and you're like, I'm ready to get promoted. So what I would say is have a quarterly connect with your direct manager and ask for direct feedback. right? Don't be afraid to let them know that you are ambitious and that you want to move up the ladder, but don't give them a timeline. Like the one thing that I would tell them is like, don't tell them that you want to get promoted within a year or within 2 years, because then they're going to immediately have their own thoughts about it, and it's going to kind of muddy down the waters of what you're actually trying to learn. So what I would do and what I've done in the past is that I actually write down everything that I've done in that quarter. And I've said, hey, this is what I've done. This is what I've accomplished. These are all the things that were within the scope of my job. These are all the things that I did above and beyond the scope of my job. And this is why I believe I'm ready for that next step. What do you think? And then it puts the ball in their court. And a lot of the times I found that sometimes my manager just says, hey, you're absolutely right. I think you need to do this just one more time to get a little bit more experience, and then we'll be able to promote you. Or I even caught my manager on his heels one time, and I presented this to him because I was like, hey, I've done all these great things. Like I'm doing stuff that's above my level. I'm doing stuff that's on the other side. Um, at the end of the day, like I believe that I'm ready for a promotion. And I put it down on paper. I put it in front of him, and he looked at me and he went, shoot, you're right. You're absolutely right. So I say that because I think it should always be an ongoing conversation, Kevin. I think it's not something that just starts on day one or that happens, 90 days in. I would definitely say, get your first 90 days underneath your belt. But after that, start having that conversation every 3 months, and it'll really help you, one, grow as a person and as a leader. And then two, this will also help your manager understand that you are ready for that next step. And that's how you're going to continue to move and move a lot faster. You don't want to get complacent with yourself. Got you. All right, Tatiana, what should a person that does not go into social media like ever do when posting on LinkedIn? Fantastic question. So one thing that I talk to a lot with a lot of my friends who are influencers or quote unquote influencers who, talk to multi thousands of people is you're going to have to get out of your comfort zone. And I was not big on posting on social media either. I used to post once on my Instagram because I, just wanted to post something. Like Facebook, I never posted on and stuff of that sort. But the one thing that I'll say is that, excuse me, I started putting away other people's opinions to the wayside because this is what I wanted to do for the rest of my life, right? I personally love business. I think business is really, really intriguing and it's really fun and engaging. And what I would say, Tatiana, is just start following people on LinkedIn that you admire, whether it's Gary Vee, whether it's Shinjini Das, whether it's, me, and start looking at what they're posting. And you don't even have to start posting on LinkedIn, but just comment on theirs. Like, hey, this is awesome. Like, I find this really interesting. Or, I actually disagree with your opinion on this. And you'll find that a lot of people are now going to start talking to you a lot more, and they're going to start doing a lot more things with you, and they're going to start following you because you're a thought leader. So as much as you don't post on social media right now, I would just go in and start engaging with posts. I wouldn't start posting myself immediately. And then as you start feeling more comfortable, find an article that you like and write a quick paragraph on it and post it. And you'll find that it's a lot more people will agree with you than they will disagree. And LinkedIn is it's a nicer place than Facebook. So you won't have to worry about people talking bad about you. Um, Santiago, what are some virtual work or low exposure work options that are relevant real estate industry? I'm going to be very honest with you. I'm going to have to follow up with you on this one. I don't know much about the real estate industry, and I don't want to lie to you. So what I'll do is I'm going to take a note right here. And then I will get your email information from you, and I will shoot that back to you by tomorrow after I talk to a couple of buddies in that industry. How's that sound? Tiffany, I love this question. Are there any companies that you know of that are particularly good places for working your way up internal promotion? Nestle is is one. One thing that I would say is that you're gonna realize this as you're talking to more people within other companies. So as we go back and look at, I'm just gonna pull up the list that I have for you guys. Amazon is a great company. Jackie said it, Liberty Mutual and Fidelity, they both set you up on really good um, like paths for career and growth. Everybody's PwC, yes. Raytheon, yes. JP Morgan Chase, yes. A lot of companies are really good at developing you. And I would say most Fortune 500 companies are companies that are going to be good for working your way up for promotion. And one other thing that I would say about this as well is that, um, wow, I lost my thought. Anyways, a lot of companies are Fortune 500 companies are really good for for upward mobility. Oh, and as you're looking at jobs, there are things that are like rotational development programs, or as you guys are, if you're about to graduate, just graduated, very, very young in your career, look for some rotational programs that are done. We have one at Nestle where you're able to go through 3 different business units and you serve like a 6 month rotation, and then we hire you on full time after that. And that has been something that I've seen is really, really good for upward mobility and great advancement for people as well. Does that help, Tiffany? I could pull some more companies for you and shoot them to you in an email if you'd like. Love that. Thank you, Jackie. Fidelity. I love it. A lot of banks are great places to work, guys. I think a lot of people have, a lot of negative connotation towards banks, but anytime that you could work at somewhere that has a lot of rigor around the work, whether it's a Striker or going to a bank like Capital One or JP Morgan Chase or coming to a Nestle or a Pepsi or anything of that sort, um, you guys will quickly realize how quickly you can move throughout an organization. And just because it's big doesn't mean that you have no chance, right? The bigger it is actually means that there's more opportunity, so you could try more things, and it's a lot of fun. And you're very welcome, Tiffany. Any other questions, guys? Chris, you hit me with the tough questions today. I love it, man. Davion, I love you, man. How would you go about discussing starting pay during an interview? So that's always going to be a conversation that you're going to have with the HR recruiter. And to be honest with you, Chris, I shoot high. I aim high. I always aim high. I never undersell myself. And the reason being is because as I look across all other industries, and even as I talk to some of my closest friends who work at Amazon and Google and Facebook and all these places, we talk about salary every once in a while. And, they might make more than me, they might make less than me. But the one thing that I would say is aim high, right? If you believe that you're worth, and I'm just going to throw a number out there, 70,000, walk into there and say 100,000, because that company is never going to go higher than what you're going at. They're only going to try to compress you down. So say and I'm just going to make these numbers up because salary is very finicky, right? So say you wanted to make $85,000 at your first job. If I'm going into the interview and they say, Chase, what do you want to oh, sorry, I was reading that. Say they're like, Chase, what do you want to make? I would say 100,000, and they're gonna be like, okay, well, we can't go all the way up to 100,000. And I'll say, well, then what can we make? Knowing in my head that I only need to make 85, but let's try to get more money, right? This is a multi-million billion dollar company. Give me what I deserve, okay? And then as you're going through that conversation, they're gonna start negotiating, and they're gonna go, well, I can only give you 70, and you're gonna go, well, what about 90? And they're gonna go, well, I could give you about 80, and then you're gonna say, well, what about 85? And then they're gonna finally go, yep, we'll give you 85. And then you land right at that number that you want or right around it. And that's how I would go around or go about actually discussing pay. And Chris, you and I could have another conversation to discuss this further tactically, because it's one of those things where it's just a one-on-one basis. And I think that we can have a good strategy for you. Yes, and that's so technically it's handled through HR, and then there's always a compensation group that works within these corporations. So it's going to be a negotiation back and forth. But when you're meeting with that HR manager, whether they're first or last, and they're talking about your salary, I would absolutely aim high, because at the end of the day, you don't want to undersell yourself. And when you are making X base salary, it's harder to go up every single year. Noreen, you missed a little bit about um, salary and how to go about it. And I'm just saying, shoot high, always overvalue yourself, um, and have that conversation with HR. And again, have a number in your head, but aim high. So that way, when they start negotiating with you and they start bringing you down, you're actually meeting them right at that number that you want to get to. Julia, should we be looking for jobs that pertain to our intended profession while we are trying to make money during grad school? Or is it okay to take a job you know you can do that pays well, even if it isn't a job that is associated with your intended profession after grad school? That's a great, great question. What I would say to that, Julia, is that it is absolutely okay to take a job that you know you can do that pays well, even if it isn't a job that's associated with your intended profession after grad school. The one thing I would say, though, is if you're getting your MBA, for example, find an internship that you can find over the summer that your job, whether it's an hourly job or just like another job, will allow you to do, because then you're going to help start getting your next phase of your career ready, right? And one thing that I've always said to people who I mentor and people who I have conversations with is just that just because a job is free doesn't mean that it's actually free. Because if you're not getting paid, one thing you're getting paid in is experience. And I would say that it's a case by case basis. And say that, you're a marketing major and I came to you with the millennial way and I said, hey, I need somebody to come work with me and run all of my marketing. You could see that as an opportunity to get some good marketing underneath your belt, get a recommendation from me, and be able to move on to the next step and start your marketing career. Or you could also take another job that you're good at and maybe try a couple other things outside of that by saying, that's very true, Tatiana, by also saying like, what skills can I learn during this time? Like, I'm kind of jumping around on this question, Julia, but if you do take a job that you could do that pays well, even if it isn't associated with your intended profession after grad school, I would still try to do other things outside that might help build your skill set. For example, watching YouTube videos. I mean, I learned how to do Adobe Audition and Adobe Photoshop by doing that type of stuff, or by watching YouTube videos, finding other webinars to listen to, and just trying to continue to help advance myself and thinking about like, what can I do to be a better person, a better human being, and a better business person. So that's what I would say to that. I don't think you go wrong either way, Julia. Whether you go and get a job that's within that profession or you don't, I think both are fantastic. You're very welcome. Jarvis, my man, what's the best way to answer interview questions about an unfavorable past work experience when asked? So I just went through that. I'm not going to lie to you guys. My experience at Nordstrom was very far from fantastic. I had a great time while I was working there, but it was just absolutely crazy. And when I was interviewing with Nestle, they asked me like, "Why are you leaving? Like, what's the reason behind this?" And the one thing that I would say is I had to practice this question a lot. Okay. And what I would think of is what are the good things that come out of that bad work experience? Okay. So when I think about like why the work experience was bad, it's because of the people, it's because of the craziness, it's because of all those things. You want to put those to the wayside, right? And you want to speak objectively about it. So I would say like, this is what I've gotten, this is what I learned while I was there. But the reason that I'm transitioning is because I saw a great opportunity at your company and I wanted to come, and I never would have thought that within 6 months I'd leave a company. But the reason that I'm coming to you guys is because I want to grow and develop my career here. And what I would do is I would just um, start kind of like going through the why you want to come there versus looking in the past. So really keep it optimistic, forward looking. Any tips on how I could start building my resume from freshman year? Noreen, I would say this: do a lot. Get involved on campus, whether you're in Greek life, whether you are working with the lovely ladies of Olivia and Liz in their office. Like, I would just look for things to do that are going to help you build experiences. Get involved. The more involved you are, yes, it's busy, yes, it's timely, but at the same time, it's something that is going to truly help you grow, and that's going to help build your career from day one. And you're at an advantage because you're starting to think about this today versus 2 to 3, 4 years from now. And that's what I would say is just start getting involved and start doing different things. And also I would get an internship my junior year, or going into my junior year, or I would at least try to. All right. Hey, Camilla, I have an interview this Friday with a bank. I got it through networking. However, I am a little nervous as the description is for someone that requires 3 to 5 years of experience. I know you talked about this at the beginning. Could you please just advise additional advice on how to approach the interview? Absolutely. So one thing that I would say, Camilla, is know you're worth it, right? They wouldn't be bringing you in for an interview if they didn't think that you didn't have the skill set to do the job. So be yourself, right? And prepare. The one thing that like I personally have a lot of anxiety, especially when it's coming into big presentations or interviews or things like that. And the one thing that makes me feel very comfortable is one, remember I'm talking to a human, right? Just another person. That person isn't going to yell at me. They're not going to spit at me. Like there's a lot of things that they won't do that's going to actually make me feel like uncomfortable. But by prepping, I go by and I actually go through my resume and I go by bullet point by bullet point. And Camilla, if you want to talk about this later on today or another time, we could absolutely have a conversation about it. But what I would say is go through your resume, think about all of the top experiences that you have. And one thing that I could help you understand is like what I think you're absolutely right. Um, the one thing that I would say is like think about interview questions that you might get asked. And the thing is like think about tell me about an experience where you had to deal with ambiguity. Tell me about something that you're most proud of. Tell me something that you had to deal with ambiguity in leaders and continue moving those forward. So what I would say is go through your resume, annotate your resume, like actually take notes on it. And then as you're going into the interview, bring your noted resume, right? I don't know if you're going in to meet with them face to face. I have a feeling that you're probably going to be meeting over Zoom. But what I would say is that by just showing that you have a piece of paper that has writing on it, they're going to be like, oh, wow, she prepared for this and she's ready to go. And lastly, just be yourself. Like, let your personality shine. They already think that you have the hard skills to do it. So show them that you are really, really interested in the position and willing to join their business. And not only that, you're going to be a big asset to them, but you're going to bring a lot of value to the business as well. Of course, Noreen. I'd love to know more about those positions. Positions are we talking about? Oh, there we go. Liz says that she has some fantastic off hiring, or they are hiring for some positions in their office. And one thing I would do is like I would just get in contact with them. Like I would talk to Liz, I would talk to Olivia. Hey guys, like say I can't get into your office. What other offices are hiring? Because I think this is going to be a lot of fun, and I really do think that like I just want to get more experience, right? And I want to work a little bit and maybe make a little bit of cash if you guys can pay me. So that's what I would. That's how I would go about learning about those positions. Alex, go Hatters. Absolutely not, Tatiana. So she asked, does it look bad if you don't want promotions or are not thinking about them? Absolutely not. So just because I want to move up the corporate ladder does not mean that everybody else wants to. And I'll be very honest with you. I've seen CEOs from my companies, and at first when I was starting in corporate America, I was like, damn, I just want to be a CEO. I want to be the top guy. I want to be running stuff. I want to be making it happen. As I look at their lifestyle and how they never see their families and how they're always on the road, I'm like, I don't want to do that anymore. So I do have a cap as to where I want to get. And I've also met many people who have been in their job for 5, 10, 15 years, especially at Nestle, who are just very happy. They get to control. They're not like, they know that they're coming into their job from 9 to 5. They know exactly what they're getting into, and they know that they have their job security. So no, it does not look bad if you don't want promotions or not thinking about them. I would never say that. Kevin, that's a great point. Kevin said that he's had those conversations with his boss, and he explained that he wasn't looking for a promotion at this time. That's a very good way to position it as well. I would say that the more, yeah, and even if you don't have a true reason, right? Besides, I just don't think I'm ready. If you don't feel like you're ready and they feel like you're ready, you're not ready because you get to control that. And promotions at the end of the day are offers, just like a job is. So if they offer you the promotion and you're not able to get and you don't want to take it, you could say, I just want to stay in this position. Kevin, I'm looking forward to meeting you at one point, man. Jackie, that's another. You guys are. I don't even. You guys could have given this webinar. No, Jackie, that's a great point. Saying that you're just interested in going deep and getting great at your current job at this early stage of your career. That's a very good way to put it. Particularly by letting people know, like, hey, I do want to move up at some point, but like, I want to get really good at this. I want to be an expert at this. I want to be an expert at marketing or an expert at pricing or an expert at whatever it may be, and allow them to yeah, I mean, shoot, you said it, Jackie. I'm not even gonna articulate even more on that. All right, guys, I have time for one more question if you have it. No? I'm gonna give you going once, going twice. Would it be unwise to let a boss convince you to take a promotion? Julia, that's a really great question. I don't think it would be unwise to let a boss convince you to take a promotion, but the one thing that I would say is always make sure that you're making decisions for yourself. Um, they're going to convince you to do a lot of things, right? Whether it's work later, work earlier, take a promotion. And what I would say is no matter how much money they throw at you, matter how great they tell you that you are, um, always take it back and think through it by yourself. Like, or talk to it with your parents. Like my mom is one of my best friends and I talk to her about a lot of things. And the reason that I talk to her about it is because she understands me and understands where I'm coming from. And when I mention stuff to her, she's always like, oh, well, not what you said yesterday. And if that's not what you want to do, then why are you going to do it? Right. So it didn't make sense for me to take that promotion or do something of that sort. So I would just say, like, it's not necessarily unwise, but make sure that it's something that you want to do for yourself rather than just getting yourself into that. Jackie, make sure you connect with me on LinkedIn. I'd love to talk to you more. Clarissa, what is the biggest challenge you're facing with your career right now? Working from home, 100% working from home. As you guys can see, this is my home office, which has my bed right here, Muhammad Ali right there, my snowboard right there, and a mirror. Um, I've had to find how to focus like multiple times during guys. I am very much a optimist. I'm a person who likes to be around people. I'm a conversationalist, and not physically being around people has been tough for me. But that's why I say, like, get into a routine. Make sure that you feel like you're going into an office, even though I'm walking, a total of 3 steps. I like to make myself feel like I'm going into a different place. And that's been 100% my biggest challenge. It's not been easy, but it's a journey and it's a challenge that I face every single day, and I continue to learn and grow on how to work from home, how to be productive from home, and how to be efficient. And one thing that I've also realized too is that meditating and like going for walks and working out has been something that really helped keep me regular. So that's been the biggest challenge that I've been facing, that I'm trying to conquer, and I would say decently conquering it. I have to run here, but I did want to say one last thing is you all are freaking awesome. Let's go get this bread. I love memes. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, connect with me. I truly love every single one of you guys. Go Hatters, and thank you so much for being here today.